Well, hello everyone. It's Sybil Starr. I'm here to give you the astrology update for the full moon in Aquarius and also for kind of a broader view of August as well, since the full moon begins on is on August 3rd. It's on August 3rd at 8:58 a.m. Pacific time, and it's at 12 degrees of Aquarius. Okay, and I'm going to show you a chart of this full moon just for those who are interested. Okay, so here is the actual chart of the full moon. So we have here the moon is at 11 degrees 45 minutes Aquarius, which we say is 12 degrees. The sun is at 11 degrees 45 minutes Leo. At a full moon, there's always a sun-moon opposition because it is the light of the sun that is reflected from the moon. But it's in a square to the planet Uranus, and Uranus just simply shakes everything up. And just a few other things we're going to be looking at that's really significant. We have the planet Mercury is here at 27 degrees Cancer, in opposition to this Pluto-Saturn conjunction. We're going to be talking about that. That's really big. And it's also in a square to Eris, okay? The planet Mars right now is in a tight square to Jupiter, but throughout the month of August, it's going to come up and square Pluto and Saturn. Now, the thing I want to say is oppositions, when planets are opposing each other, that often means that we're experiencing something outside of ourselves. It's actually ourselves, but the way it's presenting it to us is through someone else or through some outer event. Squares are more like internal combustion. It's like kind of makes us feel like we need to explode. There's something we need to do. There's something we need to deal with. And it's like we can't really set it down until that is done. All right, now we'll talk about it. So what does all of that mean? So first off, the moon in Aquarius, Aquarius is the rebel, Aquarius is the revolutionary and the heretic. Aquarius asks us how much of our lives we're sacrificing at the altar of others to get the approval of others, is what I mean, right? Because Aquarius has come in to live their life without approval. And Aquarius is often way ahead of its time. It can see the future in ways that others cannot. It's just an energy that is a very visionary kind of an energy. And so at this full moon, it's in a square to the planet Uranus. And Uranus is the ruler of this Aquarius full moon. And so Uranus shakes things up. Uranus is about awakening. And the sun is also involved in the full moon. And the sun represents the spark of creator that each of us carry, that face that each of us wear, that unique face. And so the moon in Aquarius and its ruler Uranus involved in this full moon is not asking us, it is awakening us to the awareness of our own divinity, which is our own genius, and of how we're different. And if we're just pleasing others, we're not really being ourselves. It is about that to thine own self be true kind of an energy. And recognizing that when you're true to yourself, other people may not understand you. And on a collective level, I feel like it's very much about the potential for an awakening. The Lionsgate Portal is also, which is every year on August 8th. It is a portal that opens to the Star Nation. And I believe it's to Sirius, but I'm not 100% sure of that. So I feel like there is a potential for a mass awakening on many levels. And it's also, Uranus has a lot to do with the weather. We could certainly see a whole lot of weather changes. When I saw Uranus here, I originally was going to call this a whole lot of shaking going on, because I see Mother Earth trying to shake us and wake us up in so many ways. And it may be that we have some weather patterns that are very much about awakening. but instead I named it Stairway to Heaven. And the reason is because of the Sabian symbol for this full moon. The Sabian symbol is people on a vast staircase graduated upward. And I have just another a little picture I want to show you here. Let's look at this again as we talk about this stairway to heaven. Yes, so I mean, and what I feel like what it is saying, and it is saying it in so many ways, that there is so much potential in these really challenging times for incredible soul growth. We're having some soul mastery lessons. And so even though it seems like things are really crazy and really you have no control over what's happening, and that's true, we still need to make it is still about our own soul growth and the choices that we make. And one choice is to be true to ourselves, and is to listen to that truth that our heart tells us, even if others are telling us it is not true. We are in some uncharted territory. You know, I have heard that there is some beliefs that in December 21st, 2012, that we that two things. One, that the ways that things have been done in the past are now gone. There is the finishing of a cycle, and it is the beginning of a new cycle, and it is a new cycle that it's uncharted territory. We really don't know exactly what we're doing because the map isn't there. We're creating it as we go. And so this is a soul mastery lesson. And I feel like one of the places where the awakening is coming, I mean, and to understand, as within, so without. Our own consciousness is creating the world that we are living in, but we're doing it unconsciously. So it's bringing, the world we are being shown the shadows of so many places where we're creating unconsciously so that we can consciously co-create a different world. And so I'm going to talk now about the Mercury, which is in opposition to Saturn and Pluto right now. And Mercury is God of the mind, is speaking, teaching, communicating, all of the perceiving, how we perceive the world. And Mercury opposite this Pluto, Saturn. Pluto, is God of death and rebirth, and it shows us the darkness. Wherever Pluto's at, it is showing us what it is we need to look at, whether we want to look at it or not. The veil is being lifted, and it's going deep into any places where there is corruption and decay, to bring it into our awareness. Because as we know, as we shine the light of consciousness into any of the dark places, the darkness weakens because it only thrives in the darkness. And so bringing the light of consciousness to it was one of the soul mastery tasks. And so where I see I said, Pluto, is God of death and rebirth, and Saturn is about limitation, restriction, contraction, and it shows us where we might be out of our own personal integrity. And in Capricorn, it's very much about collective integrity, where we are out of collective integrity. And so Mercury, like I said, is God of the mind. Well, it shows us the problem, but it also shows how to rectify it, what it is we need to do to come back into alignment. And so what we're seeing is we're just seeing so much censorship. We're seeing censorship everywhere, especially in the medical and scientific communities. I've never seen so much censorship. Doctors, scientists, and also investigative journalists who are looking into health issues specifically are being pulled from YouTube, being removed from Facebook, websites are being taken down. And when something is censored, it's not because it's fake. It's because there's some truth there that those in power do not want people to hear. You know, it's just like those, like we know with like Galileo, Copernicus, Nikola Tesla, you know, these different people who had original ideas, who had different ideas that went against the grain, against the narrative of the paradigm. And these people were, and there were many. These are just the three I'm speaking of, but we know that they were in prison, they were tortured, and some have been killed. Some's names we probably don't know because they were killed. And you know, it is with time that we find out that they were, you know, they were telling their ideas were just simply ahead of their time, or you know, telling the truth about what they are witnessing. You know, today is National Whistleblower Day. I didn't know that. And we've got so many whistleblowers that are coming out to, as the veil is being pulled back on what is going on in our healthcare system. You know, our healthcare system has, just from my perspective, you know, has become corrupted with money and politics, and at the establishment, not the doctors. The doctors and the nurses are doing their best to take care of us in a very, you know, decaying and corrupted paradigm. And so when these people come forward risking their lives and their reputations and their livelihood, it's so important to just listen to what they have to say. You may not agree with it, but it's so important for them to have a forum to be able to speak, because especially in science, you know, science needs discussion and talking about what's working, what's not working, or medicine. Put it this way, medicine especially, because when we're treating people, finding out what's working, what's not working, and sharing of ideas. And so, you know, some really challenging things have been happening around people that are trying to share a different perspective. And, you know, it's so important to be open-minded and at least listen. And question, you know, could this be true? If they're risking their lives, their reputations, and their livelihood, could what they be sharing be true? So I'm just offering that as a challenge, okay? And there's a quote from Mary. I stepped away myself from sharing information for a while, feeling like, you know, it was just getting really challenging. And I read this quote from Marianne Williamson today, I think it was yesterday, and it said, being silent when dark forces are on the rise is not holy or spiritual. So let me repeat that. Being silent when dark forces are on the rise is not being holy or spiritual. And so that really helped me realize that it's so important for everyone to find their voice right now. And it is hard to find the truth. It is true. You don't know what to believe. And yet it is time to use our critical thinking skills. You know, the truth is out there. You just have to follow threads. And your heart is actually what tells you the truth. Not just stepping in and saying, I believe this is true. I believe. It's not your beliefs. It's critical thinking, following threads, and then letting your heart determine what, you know, even if it's a hard truth, because this is part of the soul mastery that we are working with now, is to be able to look at those dark, hard places. We have Mars in Aries right now, and Mars is going to be in Aries for actually 4 months, but 6 months, not 4 months, 6 months, a total of 6 months. And because it goes retrograde and comes back, and it's going to also be in a challenging aspect to those 3 planets, Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto in Capricorn. And as I talked about, and I also, and as I want to say too, I want to bring up one more thing, and that is about Mercury. It's not just about what's going on in the collective, it's about our personal lives. It's really about finding our voices and speaking up, speaking the truth, okay? Whether it's in our personal world or whether it is in our, the collective, wherever it is you're called to speak. Okay, and Mars is about courage. We're being asked to have courage. To have courage, we are moving into a new frontier, basically a different world. The world that we have known is falling apart because it's decayed at its, at its base, its foundation. And like I said, as the veil is falling down, we're being asked to have courage to look at these dark places. One, of course, is our healthcare, which I've been talking about. We also have coming in, the child trafficking and how our leaders and our politicians are involved. I didn't want to believe this for the longest time. I couldn't believe it. And I went into it with a much more open mind, and many people that I actually trust, personal friends who've had these experiences, have really opened my mind to that there's some really, there's some stuff we need to look at, in especially what is happening to the children. Okay. But it's also about, Mars is also about courage to look at our own shadow. Basically, the shadow is coming up, our own personal shadows and the collective shadow. And this is part of the soul mastery that I see. This is actually the stairway to heaven, is to look, we are being called upon to look at these places within ourselves that need healing. Pluto's always about soul healing. There's a level of soul healing that wants to happen personally and collectively. And Mars Mars is always about courage. So it's the ability to look at that. And Saturn's piece is about reality. It's about the courage to look reality in the eye. And Mars says, and what are you going to do about it? Whether that's in your personal life or whether that's in the collective. That there's a lot of civil unrest, and that's because there is unrest within our own psyches, because we know something isn't right and something needs to change. I mean, we know that. And so it's having the ability, the courage to look at that and determine what does need to be done. And Aries is also about giving birth. It is the first sign. And it really feels like we are birthing a new reality, and this old one is dying, and yet we're in the birth canal, so we can't see, we don't know where we're going. And Saturn is those contractions. It's just, really pushing us really hard. And Saturn is about personal authority. That's the main teaching of Saturn, is how to live in your own integrity and be in charge of your own life, be your own personal authority. And Pluto is so much about where we have disempowered ourselves, given our power away, to look at that. But in the birthing canal, there was Stanislav Grof. He actually did a class on the correlation between the birthing process and different planetary energies. And Saturn was the contractions, and Pluto was that part of not knowing whether or not you're going to make it. Okay. And as we know, in olden times, giving birth was taking your life for the mother in her own hands. And yet, the birth was what was real, was so important that so many women took that risk. Well, by choice or not, but it could be very dangerous, giving birth. And it feels to me like we are in that process because we can't see where we're going, and what we're feeling is the contractions. Okay. And the Mars and Pluto is so much as well about free will choice. It's like, no matter what is happening, it's like, this is God too. This is all part of the process. And we can always choose love. That's it. Are we going to choose love or fear? That question is always there, because when we're moving from a place of love, we are in alignment with truth. When we're in a place of fear, we are not. And yes, okay. And as the Hopi have been saying, all along, that we can go down a hole or we can go through a portal, and that portal is here, and the way forward is through love. And that love can be tough love sometimes. It can be tough love. It can be hard choices. And yet, Saturn is so much like climbing that mountain. it's that accomplishment and how we can be proud of ourselves when we know that we've done what it is that we've been called to do. And during these great times, we're all being called to do something, whatever that is. Okay. And so how do we move through these times? They're not forever, but they are right now. And so Uranus in Taurus to me is saying a lot as well. And once again, it's just so much about being grounded and centered within your own reality, within yourself. I wanted to say that differently. To be grounded and centered in the present moment. That is what is so important. And I just want to share a realization that I had. And I woke up one day and realized that, this is going to be going on for a while. This is not, it's not forever, but it is now, and it's going to be for a while. And how is it that I would thrive through this instead of fighting against it? I just realized that, I just needed to make some changes in my life. And things that help me stay in a place of inner peace. And of course, that message that I got that one time was that for me to have inner peace, I couldn't let the actions of others disturb me, or I would never find that peace. And that has been a real challenge, and that's what I have been working at, and made some different choices in my life that have been really helpful once I kind of settled in. And it's also about nurturing life, nurturing your own life, taking care of your space, your garden, your children, your animals, your books, your whatever is important to you, whatever you value in your life. And we are in times of great change, and necessity is the mother of invention. And as we look at these times ahead, like let's just say for parents with schools, their children wanting to know what to do with school, these are times of great change. And we might be making a lot of different choices than we thought we would be making. And to know that that's part of creating the new reality is about breaking these old patterns and believing things always have to be the way they have been, because that's not the way they are. We are moving into new territory where there is no map. Like I said, we are in a time of, as the old is breaking down, it's creating space for the new to be imagined. We are in the imaginal space. It's like in the caterpillar. We are in the cocoon where the imaginal cells are activated. We don't yet know what the butterfly is going to look like. We don't even know the butterfly is coming. When we're in the cocoon, we don't even know that. But it feels like that is the process that we are in. And it's so much about, and what I have been learning about conscious co-creation is that creation starts within ourselves. And it's our own vibration that starts it. And it's just how we live our lives. It's like, be the change you want to be. Live in the world, be in a way in the world that you want to create. So if you want cooperation in the world, cooperate. If you want to have a world where there's fun, start having fun. Have compassion, collaboration. There's so many different things we could call in, but this is where it starts. And it starts with our own vibration. And ways to keep our vibration high, one is to remember that everything is divine, all is divine, and this is God too. We are in a soul mastery. We are on a stairway to heaven. And so we've got some hard tests. It's like the hard questions on the test are here now. Yeah. And really critically thinking it through, as well as feeling it in your heart. Right. So this is God too. Nurture life and gratitude. The attitude of gratitude changes everything. It changes your day, and as your day changes, you change the world with the ripple effect. And of course, the working together in groups to work on this conscious co-creation of this new paradigm. For remember, the elders have been telling us, the indigenous elders, that we are dreaming this world into being, and we're dreaming the wrong dream. It's time to dream a new dream. And I want to end that with a quote from Shiloh Sophia. She's a local artist here. She's actually quite famous. She's got all kinds of stuff. Anyway, she's a very creative woman. And she says, letting go of certainty invites curiosity. If all the old stories aren't working anymore, consider just letting go of the map. The old map isn't going to take you where you want to go now anyway. We are in a new frontier. We don't have a map. We are creating it as we go. But it is all about vibration and being the change that you want to be. We are on the soul mastery course on a stairway to heaven. All right, wishing you all a great month. If you want to reach me, you can reach me at sybil@sybilstar.com or on my website at sybilstar. Be sure to spell it correctly, SIBYL. If you don't, you'll get someone else, not me. And I do readings. I'm on a radio show on Third Eye Radio. It's called Political Star Talk. And I have a Facebook page called Star Nation Oracle. All right, wishing you all a wonderful 2 weeks until we meet again.